Welcome, scumbags, to a vote of slight confidence. I'm Andrew Fantasia, and I am joined by Mr. Joshua Lucas from the Den of Nerds. Hello, Josh.
Hello, Andrew. How are you, man? It's been a while since we did one of these things. I'm looking forward to it.
I know, long time no see, man, and I'm excited to debate with you again. And I've got some ideas cooking for some more articles for your site as well. So
awesome.
I got this ball rolling. I like that lightsaber you got going.
Yeah,
over there.
man. It should probably be red. You know what I mean? Since he's gone completely to the dark side. But yeah, it's still pretty cool. Like it's we can always remember the green sabered Luke, even though we're gonna get the red sabered Luke. So.
That's right. We're talking today about Luke and what side he falls on, because a lot of people, a surprising amount of people, are really into this idea that Luke might not be the best person in the world, and he might actually end up being the villain of this new trilogy.
Yeah.
Now we've got to pick a side as always, and James has picked the sides for us as always. And what side has he given you?
He has given me the side of Dark Side Luke. Why Luke Skywalker has indeed turned to the dark side.
So that's going to be tricky, and I, of course, am going for light side Luke.
Yes.
Why don't you start us off? Like, give us an idea of what sinister Luke we can expect to see in 8/9.
Yes. So here this is gonna be a really fun debate. This is gonna be really interesting because I think that the bottom line is there's one of two things that are going on here. Either Disney is kind of screwing with us and they're sort of teasing this idea just to build hype, or there's something to this, because from way back when, like when we first heard about The Last Jedi, all the way to every little piece of promotional material, everything that comes out of leaks, every single thing has hinted towards this possibility of Luke Skywalker turning to the dark side. But even before any of that happened, when I watched The Force Awakens and heard Han Solo say rather, that Luke just walked away from everything, man, that's right then and there. I knew that like Luke had some explaining to do, right? I mean, this is the hero of the galaxy, arguably the greatest Jedi that ever was. And he walked away from everything. And he seems to be committing what I call sins of omission, meaning he is not taking care of business in the galaxy. He's not helping people the way he should be. He's not saving Han Solo. He's not active. And that in it of itself is the first hint towards going to the dark side. Why is he not there being the hero that he needs to be? His rejection of that journey is the seed of him being on the dark side. So that's only the beginning of my argument. But I just have to say that if you think about whether or not Disney is kind of messing with us or whether there's something to that, I think that there's something to it. Bottom line, there's something to this theory. People are not as crazy as we might think they are. I think Luke does have some dark side going on.
See, that's a good point, because he's on Apto and he's removed himself from everything, and he does have splaining to do. You're right, and I'm really looking forward to a Luke and Leia scene, specifically for that splaining, because I feel like the first thing Leia's gonna do when she sees him is, Luke, where you been?
Yeah, for sure.
But in terms of his exile, his self-imposed exile, the way I've always looked at it is that it comes from a very like Shakespearean tragedy kind of thing. Like, this is a man who he's seen his aunt and uncle burned to a crisp. They're gone. He's lost his family. He loses his mentor shortly after. Right. He's gone through this series of just like successive tragedies. And even though he led the rebellion to victory twice, he has had to watch a lot of people he loves pay the price just for being in his vicinity. And when it gets to the point where we're 30 years, however long after Jedi, when he's training these kids, and he's hoping to rebuild from the ashes, and he's like, here's my opportunity to give back to the galaxy. Here's my opportunity to rebuild this Jedi Order, to make Ben proud, to make Yoda proud, to make my father proud. And that all comes crumbling down again when Kylo Ren and Snoke and whoever, when it all gets swept out from under him and he loses that. And I think at that point, not only is he devastated at the loss of all these students, because who knows how many innocent kids there were at academy. But
Right.
Shiloh, like Ben specifically,
Yeah.
obviously he didn't die, but it's almost worse because he was lost to this horrible Snoke person with old man eyebrows and a
Yeah.
bitch robe.
Yeah.
And if I'm Luke and I'm there and I'm watching this all unfold, all I'm thinking of is I am so ashamed that I let it get this far. I can't look my sister and my brother-in-law in the face again. Like I wouldn't even know what to say to them. Like
Right.
all I keep thinking is like, I'm so sorry I did this to your boy, but like I don't even I I can't even bring myself to look them in the face. And I feel like that crushed him so much that he ran off to the edge of the world. He sent R2 back to everybody else, and he said, "You know what? Just leave me be. I'm done." Like I feel like it's so easy to relate that to a real world scenario. Like if I was, say, driving in my car with two of my little cousins in the backseat, and God forbid a truck hits us, and I survive,
Right.
cousins are gone. I'd be like, I can't go to Thanksgiving dinner with my family this year. I can't sit at that table and look them
Right.
and so I would be in the same boat. I'd be like, you know what? I'm going to Alaska. I'm gonna just live on an oil tanker. I'm sorry, and then I would just be out. And it takes this girl, it takes Ray, to come back and look me in the face, knock some sense into me, and train me as much as I'm training her to pick myself up in my ass and redeem myself and do something about it.
Interesting thoughts. So here's where I go into like phase 2 of my argument here, because like I've been thinking a lot about this, and I just need to say one thing that Anakin Skywalker says. Luke's father says to Obi-Wan Kenobi. He literally says, "From my perspective, the Jedi are evil." And here's what's interesting about that. I think that this huge twist, I think this crazy thing, and we've talked about this a little bit, but I think that what's going on here is that to a degree, he's correct. The Jedi are evil. In fact, my theory, the way that my head is kind of going with this, is that back in the day, like, okay, did you ever read man, it's like the origins of the Jedi in the comics where there were the two moons. There was the dark side moon and there was the light side moon. I think it's called Dawn of the Jedi or something like that.
Is that in the new comics?
No, it's
Was
older
that
stuff.
like Dark Horse, or is that?
I believe it was Dark Horse
Okay.
stuff. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I think I missed out on that story.
So essentially, like in that story, there were the ideas of the Force users, and then they believed in true balance, okay? And anytime you would get out of balance, whether it be too far to the dark side or too far to the light, you would go to one of these moons to meditate. So like, let's say you went too far light, you would go to the dark side moon and sort of meditate back to the center. And I think what happened, like imagine a scenario where the Jedi, some people believe that the balance or in the middle and being on the dark side are completely wrong. So what if the Jedi themselves slaughtered all the people in the middle and slaughtered all the Sith, except for a few, right? Because think about this. Most of the Sith that we know are fallen Jedi. And I think that the idea of the Jedi Code itself is super flawed because it makes you like reject this part of you that does exist, right? The yin within the yang and so forth. So I think that Luke realized that the Jedi, he makes this discovery that the Jedi were actually really evil. They were based upon this kind of dogmatic view, right? Something else that Sidious says, right, to Anakin. That's true. You have to embrace a larger view, right? Well, what did Luke say in the trailer? He says it's so much bigger than that, right? So I think that at the end of the day, Luke makes this discovery. And the new Jedi Order that he was trying to teach, and Ben Solo specifically, I think he was trying to teach a way to have both, to have the light and the dark. That literally means that he embraced the dark side. So to a degree, Luke is 100% dark side. I mean, we've heard stories and rumors that he's got Vader's little crystal, right? The Kyber crystal that's hanging, by the way, in the tree, in the Force tree. It's hanging there. It's supposed to be like glowing red and all this stuff. And if you read the comic, like Vader put all of his pain and agony and sorrow into that thing, right? And so I think at the end of the day, because we will discover that there's this very dark history to the Jedi, that Luke embraces the dark side as a way to get away from what is arguably perhaps even more evil, and that would be the Jedi. You know what I mean? So that's kind of where my head's at with it. Like, I think that the reason they have Luke on, because, like, one of the things that's really sparking this controversy here is Luke's position in the poster, right? All the villains are behind, right? And then there's the two IMAX posters. He's on the light side and he's on the dark side. He's on both sides of the equation. And I think that he quite truly is. Kylo, to me, seems like a guy who is rejecting the pull to the light. He literally says that in The Force Awakens, right? So he's rejecting the pull to the light. He is trying to embrace the darkness wholly. That's against Luke's teaching as well, though. Because I think what Luke's saying is, no, you need both. And that's what he's going to try to do with Rey. So I think that's the biggest piece of evidence for why Lucasfilm is not just screwing with us, and Luke is embracing this larger, arguably darker view of the Force.
Yeah, we are definitely living in a world now, as far as Star Wars is concerned, where the middle is a much more interesting place to tell stories than either the left or the right.
Right.
And I believe that Luke will be caught in the middle in this movie, but I don't believe it will necessarily have to do with the dark side or him turning into the villain. I believe it's going to be more of a sense where he is trying to remove himself from literally everything that has to do the Force and these wars and whatnot. I think that, and I mentioned this to James as well, I think what we're going to see is a reverse of like a Bizarro World version of what happened in Empire Strikes Back, where he's on Dagobah and he's training, and all of a sudden, he sees something and he's rushing off. He's like, I have to go save my friends. And Yoda's like, no, you got to stay here and train. And Luke's like, nah, trust me, B, I got this. I'll be right back, I promise.
Right.
I think we're going to see the Bizarro World version of that, where he's training Rey on Ahch-To. She convinces him to, show her how to swing stuff and how to move rocks. And something is going to happen between them, whether it's an argument or something's going to go down. And Rey is going to be like, I need more training. Please teach me more. And Luke is going to say, no, get off my island, get off my planet. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. Leave. And she is going to have no choice. She's going to leave. She's going to run out. She's going to be really upset. She's going to be like, oh, this guy, I thought he was something special. He was supposed to be the guy who saved the rebellion. This guy, this mythical guy, screw you, Luke. I don't need you. And she's going to run off. She's going to be hurt. And that hurt is going to be a perfect target for people like Kylo, people like Snoke. We're going to call her up and be like, hey, Rey, I heard your buddy, kicked you off the planet. That's a tough break. Why don't you come over? We'll talk. We'll have a cappuccino and just sit down. I got a shoulder you can cry on. Tell me what's bothering you. And once Luke finds out, however he finds out that his actions have driven Rey into the arms of these people, that's when he's going to say, shit, you know what? I don't know. I'm an idiot. What am I doing? And he's going to get off that planet. He's going to fly to wherever Snoke's lair is, and he's going to pull out his green saber, and he's going to be like, yo, I'm still a Jedi, mofo. Come at me.
Right.
They are going to tear some stuff up together.
Interesting. I tend to believe that Luke will leave with Rey. So I think that Luke wants to end the Jedi because I think that the whole idea, like I said, I think it goes back to him believing that they were founded upon a lie, that there was really some bad things going on there with the Jedi, that maybe, what if the Jedi were started by like a Sith or something? You know what I mean? Like, what if it's an evil organization hiding itself behind like virtues, right? So in either case, like, I think that the reason he's the last Jedi is because as much as he will go dark side, and I think, by the way, he embraced the dark side even in Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean? Like, he dresses dark just like his father. He had the ability. I mean, he used a lot of anger when he was fighting Vader, and he beat Vader. You know what I mean? He beat Vader in a duel and disarmed him, but then said, "I'll never turn to the dark side." You know what I mean? Like, he didn't kill, right? And so I think that, like, that's sort of the thing. Like, Luke is the embodiment of the balance of this idea of gray, right? But to the Jedi, that's evil. To the Jedi, that's wrong. Like, that's the dark side. So, like, if you have even a little bit of dark side, you're the dark side. That's their view. So from their view, I think that he is going to do that. But I do think that he will leave Octu with Rey and sort of join the fight. I think that she will be the one that sort of infiltrates Snoke's base, and Luke will be doing something differently. But I think at the end of the day, what they will do to Luke is sort of do another, like a second redemption in this movie. So like basically he will be thinking this, he'll be doing this thing, and then realize that like, although I believe that this should never be again, I am a Jedi. You know, I'm going to do this. I'm going to fight the evil, but then I will not pass on what I've learned. And speaking, you said something about Yoda and Obi-Wan and all them. Dude, I think he's going to be at odds with them. I think that like possibly one of the reasons that he keeps Vader's crystal is to literally ward off the Force Ghosts. Because remember what Obi-Wan said, when you fight Vader, I cannot interfere. Mm-hmm. And so I think that literally he has that because he's sick of getting those phone calls, man. They're like the spiritual bill collectors, and they keep like calling him, you know what I mean? And he's like, damn it, you know, like how do I block these guys? And then the Vader crystal becomes the blocker or whatever. So yeah, man, I think I don't think people are crazy. I think Luke is flirting with the dark side. I think he's perhaps even embraced it to a large degree. And what we get in the film will be him sort of sorting that out. Like, okay, so maybe the Jedi were founded in an evil way, but maybe you still need to be good. Because remember, George's whole thing is you're either on the path of like enlightenment, of helping others, of being peaceful, or you're on the path of oblivion. And that's it. You can only be on one of those paths. So Luke might think, no, there's a third path, and find out that like he's wrong, you know?
Yeah, he. I think, like at the end of the day, when we sit down, we watch this movie. If Luke is just a white knight the whole way through, that's gonna be boring. We're
For
just
sure.
like, okay. So give that boy a struggle, give that boy something that we can chew on. But to all the folks who really think he's gonna be the villain and he's like secretly pulling the strings behind Snoke, all I gotta say is, what does that mean? What does that tell us about Snoke, about Kylo, about Phasma, about Hux?
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. Like that doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? I'll tell you one thing that nobody's talking about is the fact that Luke could have an evil clone. You know what I mean? Like in
L-U-U-K.
Yeah, Luke. Dude, that was literally a thing. Timothy Zahn did that. There was an evil Luke Skywalker, and they fought with what if Rey is the clone of Luke Skywalker? You know what I mean? Because there can be female clones. Like Peter has a female clone, Peter Parker from the comics. And so it is possible that there is an evil clone of Luke. Like what if we have like Luke on Luke action? That's kind of hot right now, you know? So
yeah, it's true. Who knows? Maybe Snoke is that clone, right? I mean, like,
dude, what if Snoke is that clone and Luke messed him up, but he's still alive somehow? You know what I mean?
He grew up in a test tube, so the tube was just like.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. But yeah, Luke is going to be definitely, I think, the most interesting character in this movie. Mm-hmm. I can't wait to see him flourish with Rey on that island. I can't wait to see him bust out that green lightsaber, and I just can't wait for my hero to come back, because to me, he's always going to be the hero of this story.
Yes. No, I agree with you. But remember what Hamill said, man. I fundamentally disagree with everything you've done to my character. You know what I mean? Yeah. And especially as you get older, like I know this personally, as you get older as a writer, as any creative, you really start to just become a little bit more cognitive of the heartfelt story. You know what I mean? You want to go good, essentially. You know what I mean? Like evil and veracity is a young man's game, you know, as shown by Kylo, right? And so I think that it's super interesting, man. Like Luke being this thing, because he's, remember, like Rey's like, I thought he was a myth, you know what I mean? And he's been gone for so long. It's fascinating, you know. It's going to be so interesting. It's the most intriguing aspect of the film. So, you know, once again, you just have to ask yourself, is Lucasfilm completely messing with us, or is there something to it?
Yeah, and I think it really, either way, it really strengthens the possibility that we will in fact see Force ghosts
Yeah.
in this movie, that we
Oh,
will
I
see,
think we're
or
definitely getting
or maybe,
Force Ghosts. Yeah. Oh
if
yeah, I
Hayden
mean like
Christensen
Frank
shows up.
Oz. Yeah, Hayden Christensen was supposedly spotted on set. Frank Oz gave that wishy-washy answer that made us all think that he's going to be in there. I mean, dude, I think Ryan went in on this movie. You know what I mean? Like, dude, people have said nothing but great things about it. It barely did any reshoots or pickups. You know what I mean? It was edited so quickly. And a lot of people say, like, because I've been listening to people like in the industry, they just say, well, Ryan, he just approached the movie the right way. You know what I mean? Like, he literally is just, he's a very good filmmaker. He sat down. A lot of people, I don't know if people know this or not, but when he sat down, the first thing he wrote was all of the characters. He wrote down all of the characters and what their main struggle was. And the whole crux of the movie for him was deconstructing, why is Luke Skywalker on this island? That's the whole thing. It's the whole game. Like, why is he here? Why is the greatest hero in the galaxy in hiding? It doesn't
Yeah,
make sense. You know what I mean? We need an answer.
and that's such a great place to thrust us into after 30 years of not seeing him. There's a great snippet that before we hand this off to the viewers, I wanted to bring up that I was rereading this, The Weapon of a Jedi by Jason Fry.
Nice.
And there's a part in here where Luke is having a dream. He's like just sleeping one night, and he has a dream where he is someone else. He is another Jedi, and in the dream, he is swimming through an underground cave, and he swims through like an opening in the rock, and he comes up inside a cavern and emerges in like a shallow pool, and there's a human Jedi in a gray robe smiling down at him and offering his hand to pull him up. And that gets a little more fleshed out in here, but it is so close to what we have seen Rey do in The Last Jedi.
Yep.
And like, even as he says in his dream, he's like, I was somebody else in the dream. I thought that was such a cool little, through line.
Yeah.
And I wonder if Jason Fry has talked to Ryan Johnson at all, and Ryan's been like, put this in your book.
Yeah. I would love to know that, man. So many questions are going to get answered with The Last Jedi. But bottom line for all of you in the Senate, I think that by the definition handed to us by the Jedi, Luke has gone to the dark side. By that definition.
And I think he is going to be the Mickey character in Rocky, but he is not happy about it. And Rocky's got to train him as much as he trains Rocky. And
you need a manager, Ray. Ray, what you need is a manager.
You got to eat lightning and you got to crap thunder.
That's awesome.
So let us know, scumbags. Let us know what you think. Comment, love us, subscribe to us, thumbs up us, and do the exact same thing, everything I just said, to the Den of Nerds, Mr. Joshua Lucas's channel.
Yeah.
And Josh, if you're not on the Den of Nerds, where can people find you?
I'm on Ock 2, man. Just thinking about life, man. Where did I go wrong? But no, I'm on Instagram. Josh Likes Comics with an X. I also do a lot of stuff with comic books. I'm the editor-in-chief of Red Band Comics. Go check us out. Go check out shortfusemediagroup.com and the Short Fuse Media Group Facebook page. It's pretty cool.
Nice. And you can find me on Facebook at Andrew Fantasia, and not on Twitter because I'm barely ever on there. Let's
Dude,
be
me
real.
too. It's Twitter sucks. But I'm gonna do better on it. So
I heard this great analogy once. Somebody brought it up. I wish I could take credit for it because it's so smart. And somebody said, if you use Twitter regularly but you're not a celebrity, it's the equivalent of standing in the middle of a crowded room talking to yourself.
Yeah, Twitter is so stupid. And by the way, on the business end, their stock price has been stuck at like $20 for like 3 or 4 years. So yeah, they're horrible. They know it, and they're trying to change it. So who knows? Maybe they will. But for now, yeah, they suck.
This has been Stock Talk with Josh and Andrew. So we will see you next time on Vote of No Confidence here at Rebel Scum Podcast. Josh, may the force of others be with you.
And also with you.
Woo!
Woo!
Hey scumbags, thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up on our video. As always, please subscribe to our YouTube channel, Rebel Scum Podcast, for all the latest videos.